I want to show you how you can go about adding detail into a drawing once you have a basic gesture. First, let me start off with a gesture, and I'm just gonna do a gesture of the skeleton on the left, the simple gesture of I'm standing. So let me just take a minute here. And we've got the other femur, and this leg's kind of sticking more out to the side. One arm down and hand out. Other arm down and hand out. And face looking off 3/4 view. Now I need to measure this, and it's hard to show this in the video, but I'm going to compare the head height with the rest of the body in order to make sure that my sizes are about right. So if I take that, this will be my rib cage area here. This will be my rib cage area here, pelvis. My femur is a little short, so I'm going to lengthen this a little bit, and that looks okay. This lower leg. This other femur also looks just a little short, so I'm going to lengthen that. This looks okay, and the arms look fine. So now that I have a a basic shape drawing, what I'm going to go back and do is focus on some detail. So I'm going to take a different color pen just to show you some different steps here. And also smaller. Let me just make this smaller. Okay, so to do some more difficult bones, actually let's go to easy bone first. Let's do the femur. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stare at the femur from the original picture, and I'm going to draw just around the edges. So this is contour line drawing, where you're staring at the object and you're going really slow, and you're just transferring the information that you see onto your paper. So I see this, and I see this, and I'm just looking at it in terms of line. The line's going up, the line's going around, the line's going down, the line's going up, the line's going in and around, and that's a relatively specific shape for the femur. If I go back, I can add on some other detail like the kneecap there. If I scoot down on the drawing, I can add I think this is the tibia. I'm going to come down to the foot. That bone is actually relatively wide. I'm going to just keep following that bone, keep following that bone. I see it gets wider up at the top. There's like a little dent right here. And then the fibula comes down next to that original bone. If I do a little shading in between here, I can show you, this would be the space between the bones here. Okay, and now I can go to some more difficult bones. So you would do all the easy ones first. That's what I typically do, once you know that your skeleton is measured properly. And then I go into the really more complex areas like the rib cage. So the rib cage, what I do is I'll start off with, let me start with a different color and I'll finish with red. I'm going to start off with blue. For the rib cage, what I do is I'll start with the sternum. So I just draw a basic shape for the sternum and some basic shapes for each rib. So, or maybe let me do the clavicle first. So the clavicle is the collarbone, and it goes from the sternum to the top of the shoulders like that. And I'm just going to draw it as a single line. Then in this original picture, you're going to notice that the ribs go from the neck around to the collarbone. I'm sorry, to the sternum. From the spine to the sternum. Spine to the sternum. So I'm going to start by connecting spine to sternum, spine to sternum. And I want to count how many ribs are there. So I see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9 that connect to the sternum. In this picture it looks like. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm just marking like where the ribs will attach to the sternum. So there's 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now I can wrap them around to the spine in the back. If I follow them all the way, it's going to get kind of confusing. So I'm just going to do the fronts first, and then where I can see them in the back, I will keep them. There we go. Okay, so this is a basic rib cage. Now there are still ribs back in here on the inside of the rib cage, but I'm going to finish these guys first, what I've been drawing, and then I will go back and I'll add more detail back there. So let me switch over to my red, which is my final color, and now I'm going to do a contour line drawing of the different pieces. I'm going to start with the sternum because that's my anchor for the rest of the drawing. So I'm just going to follow the sternum or this piece around, and the sternum kind of is a little lumpy. It shows lumps where the ribs are attaching to it. It looks like little indentations. Okay, now the clavicle, to follow that around, I'm gonna come up. This pen is so tiny and this drawing on the computer is so tiny. You guys will probably like to draw with a mechanical pencil for this assignment, and the bigger your drawings are, the easier this is because you can actually see what you're doing rather than getting confused with all these little lines like what I'm doing right now. So there's one rib, and I'm just going to give each rib some thickness now. So there's 1, 2, and the more you look and the closer you look at what it is that you're drawing from, the better off your drawings will be. I'm doing this a little fast and I'm doing this a little loose, like I'm kind of making up some of the information on the ribs just because I'm having such a hard time drawing it. So there's one side of the rib cage, and if I was going to do the back, let me just lighten this red. The back of the rib would wrap around to the spine in the back. So if I end up drawing it, I'm going to totally confuse you, but it would be like this. It would keep going to the back. All right, so here is a sample of how I would go about drawing something more complex like a rib cage. Start with the lines, like start with what I did in blue, and then on top of that, draw your actual lines, and you would eventually erase the blue in between. If I zoom in super close, I might be able to do that. Let me try. Okay, let's see if this is small enough. This eraser, oh, this eraser's tiny. This is great. Okay, so I'm gonna erase between the ribs here, just so you can see them more clearly. There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay. Now to do something like the pelvis, if I just start working on this right here, from this basic shape that I have, I'm going to look over at this, and I'm going to do a contour line drawing of this half, and then I'll do a contour line drawing of this half. So I'm going to start in blue again. This won't be my final contour line drawing, it's just a start. But I'm going to stare at the original picture. Wow, that's way too big. Let me try that again. There we go. I'm going to draw a contour line drawing. I like to draw lightly the first time and then go back and draw heavier. So I'm doing that. Since I can't do this in pencil for you in the video, I am drawing in a lighter color, and then I'll go back with a darker color. There's a hole right here. So now the other side, I'm gonna leave space for the spine. Come up, I'm staring at the original picture. Now that didn't end up quite right where it intersected with the hip, so I'm gonna try that again. The femur, it's gonna be actually a bit higher. There we go, that looks better. This little butterfly down here, and the hole. Okay, so remember something about this. As you draw, you are a magician, and you are creating the illusion of a realistic skeleton. You're making it as believable as possible. But if it's not exactly perfect, no one will really know unless you tell them. So follow the contours, make as many details as you possibly can, and then if it's not quite perfect, just hush about it and go with the flow. And do this. Okay. It's like the videos from YouTube, just so you know, a contour line drawing, you may want to write this down because it's in the criteria, but contour line drawing, contour line is just a detailed, slow outline of an object. So you guys can go ahead and start adding specific detail, contour line detail, to your measured out skeleton.